Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's the 34th episode of Tell Us About Yourself. And of course, myself, Dustin Garman, my buddy here, always my co host, Jeffrey Fox.
Yeah, man.
We know him as Foxworthy. And today, now, everybody, I know like in the LFF, there is a bunch of threats. I mean, you've got good players everywhere, but some of them are hidden. And one of them that is hidden is none other than the hidden threat, Matt Haas. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with the an easy Twitch chat question, and coming from Evil Ed, and he would like to know: do you prefer cheese or pickles?
Cheese.
All right. Sure.
As a Packer fan, I
Yeah,
approve
no
that.
question about that. I
Oh,
absolutely love
now
cheese.
Kirk Polka has a harder one for you: country or pop?
Ooh.
Wow. You know what? I think that there's actually good music in almost every genre. The issue with country is like, I hate to reinforce a stereotype, but a lot of it really does sound the same. At the very least, pop used to be good. We had artists like Prince and Michael Jackson, despite all the controversy surrounding him. So I'm gonna have to go with pop. There's even some good pop today. Like I think the reason the weekend got a halftime Super Bowl spot was because of the fact that he's actually a talented musician. So pop.
All right. Candy Ma'am would like to know: Candy Ma'am or Candy Dan?
Okay.
Um, Candyman.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Dustin. So you can get back into the serious
I'm
questions.
Oh, you're
sorry, dude.
good.
Take him off the hot seat for a minute, and back to
Whew,
your
gotta
questions.
cool off. All right, Matt. So, how's everything going? I know, of course, I'm so sick of saying pandemic.
Yeah.
um, well, anyway,
Sick of what gimmick?
He's
I
saying the
sound,
pandemic.
yeah, I said I'm so like sick of
Oh, the
saying the
pandemic.
pandemic.
No, yeah, this is exhausting.
Now, when did you first start, Matt, getting into the LFF?
Okay, so the reality of that was my first demo was at Comic Book Depot from Steve in 2015. But like I didn't play competitively until 2017. And then as soon as I joined the discussion group, that's when I slowly started to notice everything changing. Because at first, um, I'd be like playing other card games and I would say like, you know what, I feel like going down to Legendary Realms this week. I think I'm gonna go down and play Super Show. It was a small it was even a smaller play group than the original play group at the store under fire because like it it included Bombada, but it also included Steve, but also like some people that I don't even remember. Uh, so that was like 2015. I'd play with my gold standard deck, which I would then misplace, then come back to play competitively in 2017. Uh, win second place at a CAC at the end of 2017, and then expand to other characters afterwards.
Okay. When you came back into competitive, what was your choice of competitor then? Because we had kind of transitioned into where we were getting so many other competitors, starting to come out then. So,
It was numero uno because like he was the first other competitor that I actually took interest in besides Gold Standard. I
Mhm.
literally just bought a box set and I played it mostly out of the box until Press 1P gave me some advice on how to switch some stuff up. And then I actually looked on the website for every card in the card pool to really make it optimized. That's when I threw in the Alien Invasion and some other stuff. And I've since retired the competitor due to just straight up negative play experience. But yeah.
All right. So why don't we hit the Twitch chat for a couple questions? Uh, Candy Ma'am would like to ask you what your favorite movie is, and what other country would you want to live in?
Wow. Okay. So some of my favorite movies would definitely be Liar Liar, The Simpsons movie, Ready Player One. Um, I thought Game Night was pretty good. Uh, I think the most hilarious cheesy horror is oh man, what was it? Mo Most Likely to Die. It got a pretty bad rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's just a horror completely revolved around like a high school reunion, but there's one imposter. So that was pretty funny. It's a slasher film, but it's not very gruesome. And then what other country I would like to live besides here would be Canada, because I'm sure a lot of people know I'm obsessed with poutine, but also it's just a very relaxed environment there. Like everybody there just seems very chill. Uh, like and they have some advantages with their arcades that we just don't have here in America, such as the virtual reality and the axe throwing. If anybody has ever been to an arcade chain called the Rec Room, I just think that's pretty cool. But I couldn't give up life here in New York.
All right. Nepsilon in the chat, he has a question on the same grounds. What's your favorite country, and what movie would you want to live in?
What? um. Well, I mean, by default, um, I would be partial to the country that I'm living in now because this is where I've grown up my entire life. So it would be disloyal to say any other country, but I really like Norway, other than Canada, because of the fact that that is the birthplace of black metal. What movie would I want to live in is something I'd really have to think about because I mean, technically, due to the fact that I am a registered extra for Central Casting, I could just be a pedestrian in any random movie, and my life would be no different than the way it is now. So, like, I could be an extra in Liar Liar, and I'm just gonna stick with that.
That would be beautiful.
All right.
Would be.
Oh.
Illuminati Daddy uh, would like to know your favorite indie competitor.
Sabu, 100%, and like he wasn't indie at first. He is now that ECW folded. So
Well,
yeah.
ECW was really an indie back then too. While it was like the third major promotion, it was
Yeah.
still indie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the 90s it was indie before the revival that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, when that was just WWE though. So
Yeah,
like,
it really was.
it's not really like you
Yeah.
can't really separate it. It wasn't really its own thing anyway. Um,
Oh, sorry.
no,
I mean,
it was just
One
gonna.
Night Stand 2006 was special, but
Yes.
it wasn't
Yeah.
ECW.
No,
And
but it was a good show, and it did what it was supposed to.
mhm.
Illuminati would like to know favorite Letterkenny or Trailer Park Boys character.
Letter Kenny or Trailer Park Boys character?
Yep.
I do not watch either of those shows.
Will. Favorite DDR song.
Oh, favorite DDR song would probably have to be Monkey Business. I think the chart and the actual track just syncs up perfectly. And like even though I have a really solid score with that on Stepmania, it's something that I'm bound to just run over and over again.
So Dustin, we're pausing the Twitch, so you can get back to those questions that I
Oh,
cut off you from.
you're good, buddy. What I was gonna say, or actually before I forget it, sorry. Um, now, you were talking about Sabu and stuff like that. Was ECW your main thing you watched back in the day?
Well, unfortunately, I was born in 1995.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, I was
All
exposed to
right.
the real ECW after. But,
Okay.
like, like, weirdly enough, like, the reason I enjoyed the fake version was because it was the only thing that was accessible to me.
Yeah.
Because it played every Tuesday, and, let's be fair, it wasn't ECW. But I could be completely 100% in the wrong. I've never claimed to have as much knowledge as wrestling as like most of the people in this community,
Hmm.
but I don't exactly know where CM Punk's career would be without the revival, because he did debut in the revival and then proceeded to get absolutely screwed by Vince McMahon after. But that roster had CM Punk, Kelly Kelly, and all of the original stars. They had Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Sandman. Um, I mean, maybe not like all those guys. I don't particularly remember Taz being on the revival, but they had
Well,
those
no, by
three,
the time
and
of
they
the
had
revival,
Tommy
he was a
Dreamer.
commentator.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
commentating.
yeah.
Yeah.
WWE had already
Now,
ruined him as a wrestler.
now when you're talking about, you were born in 95, I can relate. I was 94. So, but one thing about the revival, and I know, even though, I mean, my personal opinion, I didn't really care for the revival. I hated that it was only like like an hour, but
Hmm.
and it wasn't as extreme as I would like it. Kind of like what you
Oh
said,
yeah,
it wasn't like the old
the
days.
original was
But
better.
the cool thing about it, just having the revival though, made me actually start watching the old stuff. And
Hmm.
because a lot of people, people I knew in school that like wrestling were kind of like, yeah, this is totally out of whack. And I'm like, well, how was it in the old days? So I would backtrack and look at the old ECW shows.
It was effing violent, and that's why I love watching it on the network, because even though you're only getting 45 minutes, which I have like some like instinct or like intuition in my mind that they are cutting the episodes short for some reason, which I personally don't understand. If WWE owns ECW, why they can't just show the whole thing? But like them not wanting to pay money for the entrance themes, I could understand, because like as much as it hurts to say, like, that probably isn't going to get the most amount of views out of like everything else you can watch on the network with the documentaries and the fact that you can just have the
Yeah.
most recent stuff at the tip of your fingers, etc.
So to answer that question, most hardcore TVs were only 45 minutes because you had local television time.
Oh,
The reason
okay.
why they appeared the cut is because they were not live,
Okay.
so they were edited afterwards and then broadcast. So they would
Okay.
film several shows in a while when they were going touring, and then they would release them on hardcore TV weekly.
Hmm.
Like it was basically a public access show for most of the local areas. So it wasn't a real television deal. Like right now, if you were to compare them to like MLW is probably the same level of production as ECW is, like, and adjusted for modern. Like Impact and ROH and all of them are still television wise far ahead of where ECW was in its heyday.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
But
that's
yeah, to
the
answer the
reason.
question, yes, that is my favorite promotion, in the sense that it's what I enjoy watching most.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got that
Yeah,
vibe.
and missing
Yeah.
the original theme music actually misses a lot of what made ECW ECW. It was because a lot of the we don't care what people think about us, we're just going to do what we want to do vibe is lost when you don't have like the original theme music.
Yeah. And it kind of you know, you know transfers to my gimmick because I like having a lot of weapons surrounding my ring area, and I don't have
Mhm.
enough.
All right. Speaking of ECW, VHS 101 would like to know
Brian,
your
what's up?
thoughts on the Sabu versus Mysterio match at One Night Stand 2006.
Okay, well, at the time of 2006, while I was watching everything that I watched, uh, one thing that I need the people that this is being broadcasted to understand is with someone with ADD, um, and someone that used to watch Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Tuesday Night WWE CW, and Thursday Night Impact on Spike TV all at the same time. The amount of like information and memories that I've absorbed has kind of at this point gotten tainted. So I actually don't remember everything in detail. But I'm sure that that had to have been a legendary match because I did see something about that recently on YouTube, and it's just two freaking legendary high flyers, more or less to say, basically getting a dream match with each other. So honestly, that's gonna be something that I'll have to watch.
All right. He also had another question before that, and when we go off the ECW tangent, and his is sheep, pineapple, or crime wave. Which do you prefer
Okay,
better?
sheep, pineapple, or crime wave.
Yep.
Well, I don't know what Polka is doing faction wise right now, so I can't really have like any opinion about that. I think I always have a lot of fun playing with Matt Nealon. Um, but like I have to put it to Crime Wave because that's basically my group of friends. Like we may be in opposite factions in real life, but the boss uh, and Dippy and TJ Marconi before he left the faction, Big Match Pete before he left the faction, like all those guys I would see every single week. So I'm gonna have to put it to Crime Wave.
Makes sense. And Candy Ma'am would like to know, can you sing for us?
Uh
This is not
yeah,
copyrighted music that gets me shut down.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think real quick. All right, acid bath, bleed me an ocean.
I would, but there would be a lot of broken
Bleed
streets.
me an ocean, bleed me an ocean tonight. By electric graveyard light, bleed me an ocean. Let the blossom meet the sky. Teach me how to die. It was actually Let the Blossom Eat the Butterfly, but that was close.
No, it was good. Uh,
So touch it.
yeah, man. And of course, VHS 101, of course, following that up with what he considers a hard question. Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
That is a trick question. Lemmy is God,
And you got that question right.
of
Um,
course.
uh, there's been many people who didn't. Um, so, all right. We caught up with the Twitch, so we can go back to the real questions from Dustin Garman.
All right. One thing I was going to ask you is um, Invisible Man.
Hmm.
I was I was just curious myself because like when his first face card come out, it was kind of like a different logo and stats and stuff like that. Did you kind of when he came out with a new one, did you kind of change that, or did you want it changed in a way?
Yes. The original stat chart, um, uh, it was not what I requested,
Okay.
but it ended up working itself out. And, I feel even in the flavor sense, the Invisible Man is supposed to be like the most powerful entity in the universe. So that's part of the reason why, for a flavor sense, the new stat chart
Hmm.
makes more sense. But also in like a game sense aspect, like if you notice, like with the new stat chart, you can pack a stop at every single thing for 13 through 15,
Hmm.
and it just wouldn't really make any sense to have it any other way to pack DDT on a 7, because statistically most of the time that's going to be a dead stop.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, with the finishers and everything else, when you have Nasty Riff in the discard, and your opponent's strike is an 8, you still have a live running lariat. And even if your opponent's strike is a 9 or higher, you just run pump kick. And then it's like, okay, I have an 11 strike, and my strike will always be higher than my opponent's with like an always live running lariat, no matter what kind of matchup it is. And sometimes these things happen. Um, the Brain actually had two versions of his competitor too.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, one with 10
He
power,
did.
one with 10 submission. So it's okay. Like it's totally cool. These things happen.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because I actually wound up messing up. I got your face card and then started putting it with your new competitors like finishes, and then I actually somebody had told me, I can't remember, that the logos were actually different too. So I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, but
But yeah, I was kind of wondering, I wasn't sure. So
yeah. Hopefully, the majority of the community is has like caught up to that, like with like the FAQ threads and whatnot.
mhm,
But just in case there's any confusion with possibly any new players or anyone, yes, the finishers only go with the 10 power version. That's
mhm,
really the easiest way to put it, only because uh, both versions, the 10 agility and the 10 power,
mhm,
have a different logo. And another reason why I wanted it to trigger on agility was because I don't know if there are any Vanguard or ex Vanguard players that like know the whole Psyqualia thing, but agility is kind of my calling. So I figured, hey, why not? The law of attraction would probably be on my side for me to roll agility over and over again. So that's where it would most likely trigger the most.
mhm.
And not only that, but I am too like I don't have like the mental strength to actually be a wrestler. But if I were to get past the pain tolerance and being thrown on the damn ground, and then just shaking it off, taking bumps constantly, I probably would end up as a high flyer, only because like I am able to run pretty quickly and like jump around and shit. And that's why I'm also a DDR player and a drummer.
Nice. I like the drums myself.
Yeah, the face Mark Cilia, the LFF
Hey, Mark.
Hardcore Champion, is saying that he is a card fight Vanguard player as well, so he understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
And right there, that could be a meetup right there, man. You're an ECW hardcore fan. He has a hardcore title. That could be a match made
Yeah.
in GM Khaleesi or GM Leo
I
Loudmouth's
mean,
territory.
it's up to you, Mark. Like I wouldn't really mind at all. I actually have my Mad Custodian in front of me, because he was the competitor I was going to play yesterday until somebody took the 12th spot. But Proving Ground's a weekly event, so it's cool. I don't exactly know if it's more based on storyline or if it's more based on competition, what makes people eligible for titles. I think it's a mix of both, and it's situationally dependent. Results may vary case by case basis, but I would be more than happy to face you in a hardcore title match with either Mad Custodian or Sabu, because I think in a flavor sense, one of those two competitors would make the most sense for me to play.
And Jeremy has a question, so let me lower his hand and see if he wants to go audio or audio video.
I'll go audio.
Okay.
So, since you are the creator of the Invisible Man, that means that you have unlocked the secrets of invisibility. Can you please explain the science behind this and how you developed this and managed to create mad scientist style an Invisible Man? And how do you keep your creation from betraying you and murdering you? Because I think in the promo he said he was going to do that.
Well, the thing is, um, he was a creation that came to me, um, like kind of after he was locked away in my brain a long time ago, and uh, essentially he gave me all of the skills secretly in order for me to be the competitor that I am today, and then I was #1 contender for LFF New York champion against John Polverino at the store under fire a long time ago. So we had that match. Press 1P went over with original Mortal Warrior before 2020 Vision, and they asked me, what's my gimmick? So I covered it up by saying, oh, I'm the Invisible Man. Yeah, totally. That's me. Little did I know that is the exact moment where I would unleash a can of worms, because at that point I mentioned his name and I let him out. So we don't really know who he is. He's more of an entity more than an actual physical being. So not only he's anonymous, we don't know who he is. He could be any one of us. He could be you, he could be me, he could be Foxworthy, Dustin, Jeff. As a matter of fact, they do say that every time that he goes into a match with someone, he possesses their worst fears and their worst nightmares. And that was actually said in his unofficial debut promo, but it was hard to hear because of the music in the background that was composed by, again, somebody with an anonymous identity. So if you go all the way back to that promo and you listen closely, you'll hear him saying all the stuff that I just said. I don't know whether or not I am safe. So as of right now, yes, my safety is at risk, but we will have to see what ensues.
I got a recommendation for you. If you want to keep him away from you, charge him rent. Works every time.
I would if he physically existed. That's like,
oh, don't let that stop you.
That's like the most difficult hurdle that I've been trying to overcome lately.
I mean, it seems like the most difficult hurdle is to get him to wear clothing during his promo videos. That whole nude video is kind of like scary in some ways.
You do a good job with that, by the way.
Yeah, well.
Well,
yeah, that was produced very well. Whoever produced it for the Invisible Man.
Yes, I need to. I don't think he's watching this right now, because I honestly, up until literally this point right now, 6:58, I didn't think of like telling him like, hey, I'm gonna be on this Tell Me About Yourself talk show on Twitch tonight, but I need to give credit where credit is due to a community member named Joe Randazzo. Like on the members list, I think it comes up as Joey Randazzo, but like yeah, that's as far as I'm gonna go when it comes to breaking card fade. I told him what I wanted, like with like the shots and like the filming, but he did all of the filming and the editing in Adobe Premiere, and I don't think that it's the kind of promo that's going to be matched for a long time. And that's what I was aiming for an almost movie-like production in a 2-minute promo. And I think that that's very much what I've achieved. So
all I'm gonna say, Matt, is don't think of me as the Invisible Man. I have too many personalities enough.
That's fair.
yeah, we don't know yet.
Two is enough.
I think you're probably safe.
Okay, good.
Now I could use a personality. But so speaking of like movies and things like that, so you are a extra in television and movies. So what has been your favorite project to work on?
Well, like as soon as you mentioned that, um, it it finally reminded me of the thing I was forgetting earlier that I was going to write down for Where's the Lie later. But I would say Law and Order SVU. The only thing that sucks is I actually haven't been able to see myself in like any of these episodes that I've been casted in because I don't know how many people in like a 900 plus community are actors aside from John Schnur and Jennifer Lynn.
Mhm.
But like there's this thing called the waiver system for background actors where if you do certain things and like it's aligned within your politics to get over with a company or whatever, or if you get called back for background multiple times, they give you a waiver, which is essentially a contract. You need to get that 3 times in order to um, become union. So right now I'm a non-union worker and I haven't gotten work in forever, probably because of this BS pandemic. But there's a way to override the waiver system if you are featured. The only thing you have to do to get featured is have your face visible on camera once.
Mhm.
Then you can completely override that system and become a part of union. But there's pros and cons to being union anyway, so I'm not really sweating it right now.
Okay. Yeah, we have the philosopher out there talking about how he loves SVU.
That's cool.
Hey, it's been around for what, like 20 years now. So
Y-
give or
Probably
take.
some really long run. Like my parents watch it, but personally, my favorite things to watch is either old wrestling or The Simpsons. So
What you got for us, Dustin?
SVU, good choice. I mean, I used to like it as a kid. I just can't believe how long. I think
Oh,
season,
actually, they're in 22 years for SVU. Okay.
yeah, I knew they were up there. More, almost like more than 3/4 of my life.
Fair.
Now, speaking of, you were talking earlier about drums and stuff like that. I know you're a rocker.
yeah, I am a metalhead and I do play in a few bands.
What was one of your favorite bands, or do you actually have a fave?
Okay, well, like obviously, like you should uh as much as you can market yourself and promote your own product. Well, not even your own in the sense of like I'm not the founder of the band, uh, but Reluctant Mortem is a always has always been like a huge passion of mine. If anybody hasn't gotten a chance to check out the Allure of a Dying Soul, you
Mhm.
can just type in Reluctant Mortem Bandcamp on Google, and the band may have been on hiatus for a long time, or God, like I'm not even like speaking necessarily grammatically correctly here, but the band's been on hiatus for a long time in the sense we haven't played shows for a while, but it's still there and it's going to stay. So if you guys like, want to hear the music and check it out, please feel free. I would
Okay.
not plug my own stuff unless it was on topic or if it was asked about because I don't really believe in shoving product down people's faces too consistently. Um, and I'll get to what my favorite band is of all time in like a second, but also something important. I'm not going to claim to be a member because I'm not. But I am a session member, which is basically a gun for hire type deal of In the Next Life on cello. So the most recent album I would really appreciate if you guys were to purchase We'll See You, because I did take part of that. And the the more people purchase the album and the more people tune into the radio, if you go on my timeline recently, the more all 5 of us are going to benefit from it. Because I recently posted it on my timeline. They're going to be playing that on the internet radio 4 times a day for a month straight. So that's going to involve royalties for us as well, which is going to be greatly beneficial to all five of us. But anyway, my favorite band of all time. If anybody is not particularly a death metal fan and you want to be a little bit open-minded, I would suggest Death, because Chuck Schuldiner is one of the most incredible guitar players and just composers of metal of all time, hands down. And that's why I should have come in full gimmick with my vest, but my vest is upstairs. I have like 4 death patches. Their fourth release, Human. Their first release, Scream Bloody Gore. Their second release, Leprosy, and the fourth one is Death to All Tour 2012, which was a reunion show that featured a whole bunch of members from like a bunch of the eras and lineups, and like multiple vocalists to take place of Chuck, just for like once a year for like 4 years in a row. Because sadly, Chuck Schuldiner did pass away in 2003 due to brain cancer, but proceeds from that show went to his family and I think like cancer charities and foundations. So if anybody wants to get into death metal, I would hands down recommend Death first, and an album by Convulse called World Without God second, because that's a band that's still not only alive and kicking, but a band that I actually got to sit down with and interview for 20 minutes on my YouTube channel, Nefarious Idiosyncrasy, which as of right now, I really don't deserve any subscribers since I've not been pumping out any content whatsoever within the last year. I think that I'll deserve subscribers when I'm actually like putting work into the channel, but I want my first video for that to be an everything cover, guitar, drums, bass, and hopefully put one of my friends up for vocals since I can't do vocals for shit. But yeah, Convulse, World Without God, fantastic album to check out, and then basically all of Death's discography.
Okay.
So in between there, we did get a question from the Maddie Bar One on Twitch.
What's up, Matt?
He missed the beginning of this, so he didn't know if it was asked, and it wasn't. He's like, "Is there any LFF gold you want to go after or think you deserve, and why?"
Okay, I think it would make sense within the storyline for me to go off for me to go after the LFF tri-state belt, specifically. Hear me out. I understand that there's a lot of people in line for this belt. Last I watched with Brian Waitford-Schmidt versus Brock Carson, Casey exclaimed that there is 3 people in line for this. But first off, I am a New York player, and secondly, I'm not exactly sure if the match that I had with TJ Marconi at our old local LGS in Lynbrook, I think that's a better way to refer to the store, is I don't remember if that was an LFF New York title shot or an LFF tri-state title shot, because I think the same belt that he had a match with Mysterious, which would lead me to believe that that was the tri-state belt. But I think then Bombada told me that it was just for LFF New York, which I've already held multiple times since that was a local title. And now Southern Apocalypse Wrestling is pretty much the only promotion on Long Island because of this stupid pandemic. But also, there was a thread that was essentially not necessarily ignored, but kind of went under the radar, where there were like 5 people tagging me to be a contender for the LFF tri-state belt. And those 5 people were the boss himself, which is the owner of the company. He's the reason we're all here. TJ Marconi, my faction mate Everett Steffens, and like at least 2 other people. So I feel like if you say you deserve a shot, you should at least give some kind of a reason. But that's my reasoning. That is my case behind it. And I will rest my case at there.
All right. Yeah. So Bovada chimed in to say it was the LFF New York title.
Okay. I
Big
don't feel
match.
very bad then.
Yeah. Big match Pete's dropping a ooh. And
Oh,
he supports giving you a shot. And Master Biker's just wondering if it's Stephans or Stevens for Everett. It's Stevens.
I'm pretty sure it's Everett Steffens. Like everybody's referred to him as Everett Steffens.
All right. So, Dustin, what you got for us? At this moment, we got about 20 minutes left. So if people likes to get some questions into the Twitch chat and or into the Zoom room. Uh,
All right, and then somewhere in between we'll do Where's the Lie?
yeah. And the boss is saying that the Haas in the proving ground breaking news, but that's old news, boss. We've known
Yep.
about this for months, man.
Now,
I mean, yeah, technically this was already public information. I was gonna cut a promo that was on hold since July of last year, but I've been in the faction since February of last year, February 2020, and usually I would ask my faction mate and leader permission to cut a promo, but I'm sorry, dude. I think it's okay here because it's natural. 2021 will be the year of Proving Ground, and here's why. First off, Everett Steffens has already won a CAC, and I unfortunately couldn't be there for that, which is sad. But it feels like all of the stars are aligning, and everything is coming in line for us because let's look at it this way. First, Amir won the CAC last year and got the Old Skull Bones embedded into the LFF. Then Everett Steffens, and in between those two, within the timeline, my character, which still anonymous identity, nobody knows who he is, Invisible Man got into the game. So I'm pretty sure that the stars are aligning, and this is a sign that Proving Ground is going to be a faction that people should watch out for, especially considering the fact that as of right now, we only have like about, I believe, 5 members. Our leader, the Phoenix, Old Skull and Bones, me, Nick, and yeah, that's about all for right now. And within the faction releases, if you saw on the website, Impact, Crime Wave, Fire Class, etc. The weapons were in our faction at one point, and I really hope to see you guys back in the scene at some point. I don't know what's gonna happen if you guys like want to stick with us in the community, but like you guys are always welcome, and I'm willing to roll dice with you guys like at any point. It's up to you guys. There's no bad feelings at all. As a matter of fact, I really enjoyed your guys' time in the faction.
All right. So what was?
we have a question in our chat.
Oh right, yeah, that was what I was going to ask, and then I forgot about it. Jeremy S would like to know what is the most prestigious title in the LFF.
Right. I wasn't ignoring you, man. I just have a tendency to ramble. It's the Tri-State title.
You got it there. So you want to do Two Lies and the Truth? So
More like Where's the Lie? I'm basically gonna list a whole bunch of stuff and see who who knows me well enough to tell that the one thing on the list is a lie. The way this is gonna work is everybody's going to get 2 guesses, because any more than 2 guesses, people are just going to be able to use process of elimination. So here it goes. I used to do Aikido. I shook Tommy Dreamer's hand. I used to do fencing. I've been on a few cruises. I've seen Pantera live. Damien Poitier, who was Thanos at the end of the first Avengers movie and did voice acting for one of the Halo games, is my second cousin. I've jammed with guitar player of Weezer, Brian Bell. I've been indoor skydiving, I've been ziplining, and I've been jet skiing. 2 guesses.
My guess would be jet skiing.
No, I actually have been jet skiing on a vacation.
All right, Dustin, it's all on you.
Let me think. Now I feel like I'm on a game show. Um, I'm gonna say the cousin, like your cousin is the voice of
No,
Halo.
that is actually true. And I don't know if Ray Thanos Garcia is in the chat, but uh, this is like something that happened a few years ago. My mother said like, "Hey, we're going on vacation to see like family member," and okay. Well, first off, Jeff McKeek, Big Peak. The tri-state title is not local. It is between New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I don't consider that to be local at all. It's across 3 states. It's not
really
easy to
much
get a
in
title.
Pennsylvania, but yeah.
But yeah. So Damien Poitier, some complicated thing like with the family tree. I don't remember exactly how my mother stated it, but because of the fact that he's married to someone that's like my first cousin once removed or like something of that nature, he's my second cousin. And it was weird because like we went to visit him, and parking at his house was freaking scary because like we had to like park on a hill, and like we had to make sure that like it didn't roll off or anything before putting it in park. I went inside the house, and then I got an autograph from him, both as Thanos and I think Master Chief. I like don't quote me on it like 100%, but I think he did voice acting of Master Chief in one of the games. I could be wrong, but either way, um, you can search DAMION space POITER because he's not the only person that I have fame in my blood with. I still haven't freaking figured out how to make a full time with music. I know I have like the skills to eventually acquire it, but just not the marketing abilities yet. Um, my cousin Eric Dabowski uh, actually had one of his songs featured in the movie The Rocker, which is Get Steady for his band Johnny Lives. Adam Dabowski, I actually implore everyone to check out the movie show on Sci-Fi, because if you watch the end credits for the movie show, his name is like all over the thing, and I'm extremely proud of him. Like that's my family, that's my blood. I love the guy. So The Lie is actually Pantera. I have never seen Pantera live in concert. Uh, I'm actually not sure how many people that of my age, at the age of 25, have actually gotten a chance to see Pantera. But Phil Anselmo's a dick anyway. Fuck that guy.
No, I like Pantera, Phil.
I love Pantera, but like,
yeah, well,
like Phil can just go somewhere else, please.
All right. So we got about 10 minutes left for people to get in their final questions. And there are people in the chat saying that if they were guessing The Lie, it would have been the Tri-State title is the most prestigious title in the LFF. So apparently you guys were wrong.
I mean, obviously the most high up title would be the World Championship / the World Heavyweight Championship, but at the same time, I don't think more titles have switched hands more than the Tri-State, and there's like constant defenses. There's constantly people gunning for it.
Sure.
You know,
I
people
think
like actually have to line up for it.
yeah, I think what a lot of them contention is that yes, there are a lot of people contending for it, but it's also the quality of them compared to because it is very hard to say that the quality of and how you determine people. Like for example, I mean, it's very hard to call a title prestigious when it's like, hey, go to a birthday party, get a title shot. When you have people like yourself who aren't getting title shots who have done it really well, whereas the other regional level titles are basing it on people's actual ability to play the game.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's one of
like
those weird things. So the way contenders are determined kind of helps makes it devalued in the eyes of the LFF community.
yeah.
So
I mean, like I think at the end of the day, World Championship and Underworld are strictly competition, whilst um, LFF Tri-State has a little bit more storyline in it. Um, I don't think that's like the most accurate statement because technically speaking, um, competition does mishmash with storyline, but that's why people really have to take into account that, at least from my opinion, and the Living Weapon did point this out to me. At first, this game was more a game for wrestling fans, and now it is leaning more towards a wrestling uh, game for gamer fans, if that makes sense. Because I mean, back in the day, I literally remember Legendary Realms. Uh, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Steve went up to me and he's like, "Yo, Matt, check out this cool new card. It's called Cross Arm Chicken Wing." And that was when things were just kind of more play pure, not in the sense where people didn't use entrances and spectacles. We still even had Champion and Kickstarter back then, but we just didn't have all of this crazy stuff like Apocalypse and Save the Bacon, our minions, Lariats we might have had, but like we have like all of these crazy cards that elongate the game and elongate the tempo of the game. Where back then it was just kind of like a small play group, and I think this is where some people are starting to get hurt because everybody wants a chance to be a champion, and quite frankly this isn't a pay to win game, so I think everybody has a chance to be a champion. And I do offer coaching to any new players, any veteran players that might be unsure of certain things, certain mechanics. Like, come talk to me. Like, I will literally like lay out a deck with you 1 to 30. But at the end of the day, just remember not to take this too seriously. Even though we market it as wrestling cards and dice, we do have to face the fact at the end of the day that it's a card game, and it's most of the time, 9 times out of 10, nothing to fight over. If somebody cuts a promo and you're not really too happy about it, number one rule in my head is settle in DMs. Just talk to them about it. I'm sure that they'll be more than reasonable to take it down if anybody's crossed the line. Um,
yeah, and don't cross
but
the
yeah,
line.
exactly.
Uh, yeah. So the philosopher is pointing in his mind saying that the United States title is the potential to be the most prestigious since it can't be retained with a DQ. I don't know if he's saying that because
Wow.
he believes it or if he's trying to suck up to one of the GMs that's right there on screen.
I mean, oh yeah, I forgot to mention the reason I said Tri-State for most prestigious tile in the LFF is because I could be wrong, but I could have sworn that I heard GM Calais say multiple times that it was.
Sure. The GM says a lot of things though, especially if you give him whiskey. Doesn't mean he means it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he used to say Dustin was a good guy, and we obviously know that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, co-host.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the Tri-State's a good title to set your eyes on, and you know what? The champion makes it so the title. So when you get it and you get your hands on it and hold it, you can do everything you can to change people's public opinion about it.
Um, so like I think we have 6 minutes.
About yes,
Okay,
it's not a hard time limit.
right.
Yeah, that is the
If anyone like
schedule.
has questions, I just wouldn't want to prevent anyone getting their questions in. As a matter of fact, if anybody has questions for me after, I'll answer them after the show if the time ends up running up before dojo.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, right now Twitch is on delay. No one's posting any questions currently. So Dustin, if you got some more questions to cover.
Yes, what futuristic, we hadn't really talked about, well, I know for instance, you're talking about the tri-state and stuff like that. What are some of your things that you're looking forward to?
Like within SRG or outside it?
Or, I mean, hey, it's your show, however you want to answer
Right.
it, brother.
Okay. I look forward to hopefully this episode, getting around to GM Calais. Hell, like someone could even clip what I said about why I think I should be a contender. I mean, I really honestly think that like those like 5, 6, 7 people tagging me and commenting on it should be enough. But also,
we should point out that General Calais is not the GM of the LFF Tri-State title.
would that be CJ Casey?
Yes, that is Miss Fury. So
okay,
if
well,
you're gonna tag someone, tag Miss Fury.
All right,
That
well, listen, guys, like don't don't annoy the shit out of her about it or anything, but like you can tag her if you want. It's completely up to her. I'll understand if she says no. But I would love to, line up behind those like other 3 people. I'd be more than happy. But outside the game, I'm honestly wondering, like, where this whole situation within the Next Life is going to go, because this is the first time that I've been paid to do something on Shello. And once there's like a sufficient amount of sales and streams and whatever, it could actually split 5 ways behind, us, and you never know. Right now I'm out of a job, unfortunately. I'm hunting for another like random day job that I have like no care for in the world about, just to get money coming in, which is depressing since like all I really want to do is work in a studio. And my only opportunity to work in a studio was at a rap studio, and that really didn't work out, because well, I don't know, it just didn't work out. But within 2 months, I am going to be getting another band into the studio, and it's going to be released on the Matt Haas Studios page, which you can always find on srgpc.net, and then go down to shoutouts, and then go down to page, or you could just search it on Facebook. I actually have every single thing that I've ever released as an audio engineer on that. I look forward to when this freaking pandemic gets buried and just dies forever. In that way, shows can actually come back, because if this is if this is truly an apocalypse, which some people are saying as an exaggeration, but some people are actually saying that to be legitimate, because if you look up the definition of an apocalypse, it kind of lines up. But this is seriously hurt the music scene. Like, I don't know how many New York players are also people involved in the New York music scene, but first off, a venue that Reluctant Mortem used to perform at, that really treated us well, that everybody really highly regarded, Blackthorn 51 has shut down, and it's going to relocate. So, I look forward to whatever the relocation of that is. Other locations are starting to bite the dust or be on its way out, and that's really scary for us, because after the pandemic ends, where are bands going to go, especially metal bands? Especially with the fact that, like, now I'm getting news that St. Vitus is shutting down. Like, and there are some people that know exactly what I'm talking about. There are people here that are in the metal community, and this hurts us. But there will be some venues that will still be left alive. So not only will there be shows to go to as a show goer, I'll be able to book shows again as a promoter, because I've been a show promoter since I was 15. I mostly book locals, but I have worked with national acts in the past. The two national acts I've actually worked with are Afterbirth and Artificial Brain. Please feel free to check them out. But if anybody's watching this and has ideas for me to like put on a bill locally in, I don't know, July, because that's my educated guess on when all of this bullshit's gonna end.
No, I don't.
Like, pardon my French. Please feel free. And that is the primary synopsis of what I'm looking forward to.
Alrighty.
Well, job wise, have you ever asked? I know they got rid of Kid Thunder. I mean, you just slip into his place in this warehouse, packing up mystery boxes and stuff. No
Can
one
someone
could do
clip
any
that,
worse.
please?
No one could do any worse than Kid Thunder.
I'm
That's literally-
like, like, this is gonna make me sound like a heel, but yeah, I kind of really need a job.
Yeah.
Someone please clip that.
Yeah, clip it and send it to the SRG boss.
Thank you.
He needs good help.
Yeah, and I love this game. It's like the two favorite things in my life are music and this game. Like, I don't think people have actually seen my desk space. Like, people have seen my play area, but then I move it out of the way for like when I want to play Among Us, and then I still have these 3 freaking piles of strike, scrabbles, and submissions that I haven't sorted at all. I'm gonna be selling off these extras for like another Kickstarter that I purchased for $20 off of a third-party site for literally no other reason than the fact that I needed another set of lariats. So that's gonna be going up on the buy, trade, sell group after I sell off my duplicate competitors. But I pretty much like live for this game. I really hope it's something that sticks with me, because I don't think that this is going to suffer with a reformatting such as Cardfight Vanguard, because Cardfight Vanguard was strictly a card game. And I know talking about other card games is kind of like forbidden words. So instead, let's just say card slap battle fight, okay? Like, they literally had to deal with an issue where it's like, okay, everything that's been released for the last 4 years, you can't use them anymore. We're going to reformat into 2 different formats. This is the new stuff. You can use that in standard. You can use that stuff in premium. Super Show should never have a reason to ban singles. As a matter of fact, nothing's banned. Like, nothing has been banned. Things have only been 2020 visioned, such as the original Mortal Warrior, original Aerial Lipstick, and Grim. And 2 out of 3 of those things have moved up to tag team anyway. So I feel like this game is more of a way to have fun and express yourself as a wrestler, whether you are a wrestler or not. Because if you're actually in indies, all the more power to you. You can literally just use this as a platform, and you don't even have to think of your gimmick at all. Like, you could just be yourself. But then if you've always wanted to be a wrestler, but like you don't want to take bumps every single day and risk seriously hurting yourself, then this is where you can have that personality and cut promos and have fun with it. But just keep in mind other people's feelings when going into this, which is why I try my very best to uphold as much of a good reputation as humanly possible. And if I ever like hurt someone, I will do my best to fix it, which is why if like anyone's ever wanted to mention something to me, they can let me know, inbox. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody. But yeah, just have fun with it, guys. Honestly, don't sweat the titles too much, because at the end of the day, everybody has to realize that like there's other stuff in life that you gotta concern yourself about, unless you are staff, and just cut staff some slack, because the boss, as well as Miss Southern Belle and Leo Law and Calais, are doing their absolute best to keep the peace and keep everything in order and balance the game as much as humanly possible. And that's the bottom line. Next.
So it's a little after 7:35, so we'll give people a couple minutes to get their final questions in. Do you have any
Yes,
final
please.
questions, Dustin?
No, I'm currently I'm out, but what I was gonna say is something to add to what you were saying there. About if you ever have issues, PM one another. And
Yeah.
also, another cool thing is, and I'm gonna announce next week's guest while I do this, but cool thing about PMing it sometimes is you can actually build great rivalries. You can have great stories with one another, work together,
Yeah.
and build stuff. And next week's guest is none other than Ito Ortiz, as we know him as everybody.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I mean, like, I'm honestly gonna give it to him. Like, I feel like all of his uh like card feuds have been like very well planned. Like he'll like go back and forth with inbox with someone and like say, hey, like you want to do this, you want to cut this promo, I'll do this, whatever. Um, and then like they'll just kind of roll with it, and then the discussion group chimes in,
I think
get some people in it. Yeah, that's how it should be.
I think one of our topics next week is how many times I had to get hit with lariats. So be watching next week.
Not enough. Uh, since you ended up winning, was not enough lariats. All right, folks. Looks like that's it for the questions. So thank you for being on this show. Uh,
Matt, you stay safe, and I know, like you said earlier, you lost your job, but keep your head up, stay
Thank you, man.
positive, and
Hmm.
just move forward.
Yeah.
yep. And well, everyone, we'll see you next week with the everybody's favorite friend, everybody.
Till next time, guys.